Hello, I'm Meryl Streep, and the film that you're about to see, 8 Minutes to Midnight, is the story of the most remarkable woman I know, Dr. Helen Caldicott. I first saw this film about 2 years ago when Mary Benjamin, the woman who made it, brought it to New York. I'm a mother, and I have 2 children. I have a little girl who's 10 months old, and I have a boy who's 4.5. And my husband and I have great hopes for them in the next century. We also fear that because of the hair-trigger nature of computer-controlled armaments, that they might not get there. Very few of us have Dr. Caldicott's dedication, and even fewer of us have her talent and knowledge. But I feel like every single one of us can and must do something about this issue. And I hope that those of you who are watching the film will be as inspired as I was to work and do everything you can to prevent nuclear war and to make the world safe again for our children.
We are now the curators of all life on Earth. We've learned how to wipe it out, literally with a press of the button. We have to realize that nothing else on Earth matters apart from this if we don't survive. Why immunize our kids? Why practice good medicine? Why have good nutrition? Why worry about the psychiatric state of people, except that they could press a button, if we're not going to survive? Yes, it's left. It's always there, isn't it? Okay, now just breathe normally and listen to you. Just feel the top of your tummy, okay? That's what I feel. Just do your liver. Okay, done. Okay. Does this make you gag? Have you still got the pain when you lift your arm up like this? Well, when?
And this morning, around 5 in the morning, I started to cough, and the pain got worse and worse. So I got to a point that it started to hurt.
Yeah.
And hurt.
Yeah.
And it was getting, stronger and stronger. And after that, when I stopped coughing, the pain went away. Well,
You look different. Your face has lost all the lines, and you don't look worried anymore. You just look gorgeous. I am a pediatrician, and I look after the commonest genetic disease of childhood, cystic fibrosis. When I learned that radiation from nuclear power plants and from nuclear weapons could increase the incidence of cancer and genetic diseases like cystic fibrosis, I felt impelled to do something about it as a physician.
If people can get seated, I think we'll get started.
Now, how did I get involved in this? First of all, I graduated in medicine in '61 in Australia, and I was 6 when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. I remember sitting in school. I guess we're all sort of children of the nuclear age. And I can remember the fire siren sounding, and the teacher said, "What's that?" And I said, "It means the war's over." And I was very pleased the war was over. We got a half holiday. It was a lovely day, and I knew the war had been a dreadful war. It wasn't until I did first-year medicine in '56 and I did genetics. And I realized that radiation wasn't good for us, and that the bombs that they used were full of radiation. In '75, I knew nothing about nuclear power, so I thought I'd better read a bit about it. So I did. And I couldn't believe how incredibly dangerous it is. And I'll describe in a minute the fuel cycle, how medically threatening it is. When uranium is mined, it contains two isotopes, U-235 and U-238. This has to be enriched to 3% for use in a nuclear reactor. If it's enriched to 50% or more, that's what you make atomic bombs out of. And the bomb used on Hiroshima was a uranium bomb, and it was called Little Boy. The one on Nagasaki was a plutonium bomb, that was man. You know, there are 4 forms of radiation. There are X-rays, gamma, there are alpha. I'm just telling you this because I had to learn this myself, and I presume that you don't know it because I didn't know it, but maybe you do. Alpha particles are the most carcinogenic substances, among the most carcinogenic substances we know. It's an internal emitter. If you hold plutonium, for instance, in your hand, the alpha particle doesn't penetrate, so it's okay if you hold it in your hand. It's only if you inhale it or it gets into your body that it's damaging. Well, now, when uranium is mined, it gives off a radioactive gas called radon. When the men mine, the radon's emitted and the miners inhale the radon. I went to speak to the uranium miners. They said if I came in and told them that they shouldn't mine uranium, they would tar and feather me, because they had a nice town, they had a swimming pool and a school, and they were very happy, thank you very much. Well, I went and described this stuff in the mutagenesis, and they lined up in queues afterwards to ask me questions, and a couple of them said, I'm excreting radium in my urine. One man was 26, and he said, both my parents died of cancer. I'm already excreting it. What does it mean? What should I do? And they didn't know why they had to wash their hands and face. It had never been explained to them. The nuclear workers in this country are not told the mutagenic and genetic effects of radiation when they work. I know that for a fact. Who wants tomatoes? Who does? What are the headlines, Pip?
They want the drink age to be 21.
Oh, King does.
Yeah.
Well, he's not all bad.
So what time are you doing this interview?
8:15, I have to be there. To leave at about 8.
Who's interviewing
Where is
you?
it, Mum?
I don't know.
Mum, where is it?
It's at Channel 5. Do you want another bit? Bye, hon. Have a nice day. Miliarum.
What is it doing, Mom?
Doing a television thing.
Is it gonna be on straight off? I mean, is
I
it
don't
gonna
know.
film live?
I'm Dr. Caldecott. I'm doing a television thing this morning.
Fine, dear. You'll have
Thank
to park your car right there in the visitor's lot.
Okey doke.
Watch, dear. Watch. Right there in the visitor's lot.
Pretty black.
The following program is a live presentation of the New England Network.
Black, roll 3 track, take it, Teddy.
Today, on Good Day, we welcome one-time evangelist,
Yeah, I hope.
now a Hollywood film star, Marjo.
Ready to wipe it there. Now, where are you,
Michael
Teddy? You all right
Young
now?
is with Mr. Escape.
All right.
We'll have a timely discussion on nuclear energy and the harmful effects it could have on your health. And enjoy the rock and rolling sounds of Dr. Hook. So stay with us.
Stand by,
Let's
here we
make
go.
today a good day.
No, it's education. See, that's why media is so important. You can't. I travel all over the country speaking to huge groups of people. It's nothing. It's a drop in the ocean. The only way to do it is by mass media.
We're back. You know, over the months, over the years on Good Day, we have discussed the nuclear age, mostly in terms of what would happen with a horrendous accident, blowing up or something like that. We have not touched on an area that we're going to do today, and that is the day-to-day effects of radiation or work with nuclear power. And with us today is Dr. Helen Caldecott. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
You are the author of, the name of the book is Nuclear Madness and What You Can Do About It, right?
That's right.
We're in the nuclear age. Does that mean we just forget it, or do we
No, we
push
do
it
not
aside?
forget it. This nuclear power and nuclear war pose the greatest public health hazard the world has ever seen. And gradually doctors are starting to wake up. Because
Why
we
hasn't the
didn't-
medical profession spoken out?
Well, because the nuclear fuel cycle isn't in our textbooks and isn't in our journals. The massive amount of radioactive waste made in nuclear reactors has never been advertised by the industry. They say we need nuclear power. They never talk about the fact that this waste has to be stored isolated from the environment for years, and they can only store it safely for 10 years.
That's the part that really
Nobody
disturbs
knows what
me.
to do with it.
What to do with the waste.
In every medical textbook, it states categorically, no radiation is safe.
And what do we do?
I don't know. You stop making it. I mean, if they
No
don't
more
know
nuclear
what
power.
Totally no more nuclear power. From a medical point of view, it is insane.
All right.
You know, they say, we're scientists, we'll find the answer to the waste storage problem. That's like me saying to you, you have a cancer, you'll die in about 6 months, but have faith in me, I'm an excellent doctor. In 20 years' time, I might find the cure.
We'll be back in just a second.
I did want to touch on, John, whether or not officials, you know, have the medical knowledge to decide.
Oh, that's good, because they don't, yes. Bring that up. The government officials don't know anything about this yet. They make the standards. They're very worried. They keep saying this is the most dangerous element we've ever discovered. We must do more research because we're going to use it more, instead of saying they know enough now to totally invalidate the nuclear industry. Lasts for 500,000 years. It only takes 10 pounds to make an atomic bomb, and each reactor makes 500 pounds of it a year.
5 minutes, David.
It's just incredibly dangerous, and they should shut it down, but they won't because it's worth a lot of money.
We'll be back in just a second. Mr. Escape and Dr. Hook.
It's got to be reviewed. It's got to be reviewed. Doesn't Random House know the contacts in the New York Times and the Chicago Tribune? How do books get reviewed? What about David Burnham in the New York Times, who writes excellent articles against nuclear power? Why don't you send him a book?
Yeah, we could do that.
I wish I was Lorraine Bacall, who'd become a bestseller in the first week. I don't know what you have to do that. I think this is too scary, because if you really understand the problems and you have to face it, it becomes an overwhelming obsession, I think, for the rest of your life. It does for me. Once you know it, you have to take responsibility. If you have kids, certainly. See, this is nice, but it's terribly heavy.
So, Mommy, you're not going to fit everything in that case or this case. No.
But carrying that round, you know, in hotels. I don't want to leave home. I don't like it. I'm not looking forward to leaving the children, in fact, or Bill. If it's only for a day or two, it's not hard. No, that's fine. But a month is a long time. See, it's halfway across the world. That's a long aeroplane trip, and you just hope the plane's going to be safe. So it's a risk, and I don't like flying. I don't like being in the air for 20 hours at a time. I don't like being in the air at all, ever. I'm always very euphoric when we touch terra firmus when we land.
Hello there, welcome to Today Tonight. If you were ever thinking about nuclear as an energy alternative, will never dare to suggest it within earshot of a lady called Dr. Helen Caldicott, because she's a living whirlwind. She's campaigning at 100 kilometres an hour against nuclear power, nuclear weapons, even X-rays. And she's returned to Australia to promote her book, Nuclear Madness. Here's the whirlwind in action, Dr. Helen Caldicott.
It would seem that this nation is sleeping through what nuclear debate there is. Now, isn't there a danger that that issue will be lost because of public apathy?
It's not public apathy, it's press censorship. You know, I've been getting the cuttings for the past 2 years. There's been very little in this press about all the stuff that's happening in America. Nuclear power workers dying of cancer, nuclear submarine workers dying of cancer and leukemia, children in Utah where the testing was done dying of leukemia. You know, the waste storage problem, the Karen Silkwood case, it isn't in the papers. Why not? How much money Australia will make, how we're selfish to deprive the world of the joys of uranium, how we won't have nuclear power in Australia, it's too dangerous for us, we'll just sell it. How can we sell uranium to be used for atomic bombs? How many bombs will be made out of our uranium? And we showed the world 5 years ago that we are a courageous moral people by stopping the French testing bombs in the atmosphere. You know, Americans admire us like mad. Americans say to me, well, what can I do? And I say, you do what we did in Australia. You march in the streets and you stop this madness.
Well, we'd like you to take a chair at the top, if that's
Okay.
all right with you.
I think so. I was a little frustrated that you guys didn't use the uranium platform more during the election.
Well,
I think, you know, you had a large...
I think we would have if it had become the issue, but
You
the
could have
issue
made it the
turned
issue.
to... I think, you know, we've done a lot of surveys and we show this result that at the moment the people are very divided on that issue.
Well, the latest poll apparently shows 52% of people opposing uranium mining. I know during your election it was 42%, which is quite a sizable portion.
Because it's International Year of the Child, we should continue to care for our kids.
That's a beautiful point. You know, children and babies are 10 to 20 times more sensitive to the effects of radiation than are adults. And we're talking about our children's future. And unless we now rise up for our children and our grandchildren that we really love, I think we're not going to survive. So this is really and truly a women's issue. This is International Year of the Child. Let's get moving.
I just wonder that with every technological advance, you have your casualties. It's a sad fact of life. If they hadn't invented the motor car, 4,000 Australians wouldn't be killed every year and about 100,000 injured every year, and yet we've got to live with it.
Yeah, but
if they hadn't invented aeroplanes, some
we
of them
wouldn't
may
have
not...
aeroplane crashes.
Yeah,
no.
that's right, yeah.
Well, I fly a lot and I'm very well aware of that. But when we're talking about nuclear power and radioactive material, we're talking about genes, which are the basic essence of life.
Who picks up the tab for you to go around the world and crusade?
The people who asked me to come and speak pay for my airfare.
Who are they?
Jacaranda Press this time because I'm here promoting the book. So he sat down and he proceeded to say, Dr. Caldecott said for years 1 pound of plutonium can kill everyone. And when I tried to reply, he just kept talking. I said, can I reply? And he kept talking. And Mike Walsh says, I'd better let Dr. Caldecott talk or she'll burst. And then he said I'm a part of an international conspiracy, inferred that I was a communist, and said I was on a list of subversives that the Congress has. So at the end, I leant over and I gave him a big kiss.
You've never been kissed by a communist.
And then Adelaide will be busy tomorrow, but that's my hometown, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's super finishing the tour there. Well, I've had to work through this, you see. I really have. Or I would have gone under. And the family would have gone under. The other thing was I was rushing out trying to save the world and the family was in a mess. It was pointed out to me at these seminars that I was being a hypocrite. My family's in a mess and I bring up 3 angry people. I'm doing a much worse disservice to the world, you know, so number 1 priority is my family. All right. Where's William?
Hi.
You look gorgeous in your hat.
He runs
I wish I had the kids with me. Bill says everywhere he goes there's a house or a place or something that brings back memories. Everywhere, everywhere. Okay, take a lefty.
We're having to race through what is a terribly complex subject fairly rapidly, but I think we've still got some time this morning to ask you what the current situation is regarding waste disposal. Dr. Caldecott would like to ask you a question.
Certainly. Okay, now this report done by the geologist says that when this material is put in glass, and it's never been put in glass at the very high temperatures, certainly in America, I don't know about France, but when it's put in the glass, the alpha emission And the other fission products de-vitrify the glass because glass is only a liquid. And it de-vitrifies the glass, and there's no guarantee that the glass can impede the retardation of waste from the glass for longer than a decade. Now,
All
if
right,
there
now-
was an
now,
answer, you may be sure the Americans would be doing it because they have 74 million gallons of waste.
Dr. Hardy, what's your comment on that?
Yes, I'm sorry, Dr. Caldecott, you are not correct there. Substantial tests have been done on the accelerated effect of radiation from these elements, and many scientists and engineers who've seen these results are satisfied that they will not de-vitrify.
Are those scientists geologists?
Now, perhaps, yes, certainly.
Have you read this geological report issued by the EPA, which was issued late last year?
Dr. Caldecott, that there are just as many scientists, engineers, geologists, and even doctors who believe the waste problem and these detailed investigations can be handled.
That's like the cure to cancer. Maybe
All right, Dr.
cancer.
Caldecott, can we just leave it? We've only got a couple of minutes left, and so I wanted to give Dr. Hardy a minute to finish.
Yes, I think I should say on the American scene that this is not the only way that is being looked at. In the United States, they are planning to use this solidification and burial method for disposal of the old liquid waste from some of their military programs. They're also planning to dispose of the spent fuel deep underground without reprocessing it. That is, with all the plutonium and these other elements locked up inside it.
Dr. Hardy, I think we're going to have to leave it there as we've only got a minute to go. And Dr. Caldecott, we're going to have to say goodbye without giving you sufficient chance to answer. But I guess tonight, we're at the public meeting, you'll have a chance to discuss some of these issues. Could you tell us a bit about the meeting tonight? It's at 7:30.
I'm not actually sure where it is.
All right. It's at the Union Hall at the Adelaide University at 7:30. Thank you very much for joining us this morning and taking part in our discussion. On Friday and now, we'll be back after the news. Philip will be back. We'll be talking to David Dolan. And we'll be back talking to you for the rest of the program until 5:30. 5 a.m. 91.
You didn't give me a chance to say anything to that bastard, and they've had 2 years to put their case over. And they're wrong.
That's fine.
Yeah, but you gave him so much more time than I got.
Well, but you had a lot of
You
time.
did.
I think I judged the time fairly.
I didn't have time to answer what he said, and he's wrong. And he's had 2 years to put the case over, and he is wrong. I've just researched the whole literature in America, and the Americans don't know what to do with the
Well, and
waste.
there's a finite amount of time.
I know, but you know, I didn't have time to reply to his things. And he's lying.
How are you?
All right. Boy, it's something here. It's not worse, not better, yeah.
Has it really?
Yeah, I've needed you so badly. No, we have to put this in Ali's face. Perfect. Perfect, Doc. That's perfect.
Is it?
Yeah, perfect. Now you've got to put the fizzy stuff in. The straws can go now. I'll put the strawberries. Where's Doc? Let's all go inside because it's getting cold and play the guitar. Let's get everyone inside because they're getting tired.
How about some folk songs inside?
Come on, come inside. We're going to play some music. Come on, you can sing.
We're ideologically miles.
What, you and Felders?
Yes, but we still go fishing together.
Are you ideologically different from him, sir?
Yes. I believe in the human race. He is. He, for example, is only slightly left of Genghis Khan.
He's just an old bear, don't
Yes.
exaggerate.
He has, in fact, a great belief that might is right, and where you can destroy humanity, do so. He doesn't seem to have the same efficiency with fish.
Humanity has only a 40% chance of surviving beyond the year 2000, according to a Harvard University think tank. Presenting that sobering prediction in Brisbane today, author Dr. Helen Caldicott said that man's span on Earth, if taken as a 24-hour clock, was now in its last 8 minutes.
We look after our children, we immunise them, we give them good food, but we don't know that the whole world is laced with nuclear weapons, enough to kill us all 12 times over.
And with a press of the button in half an hour, every organism could be extinct. Star Wars has nothing on this. The worst science fiction you could ever read is nothing compared to the world in which we live. And the people who want to buy our uranium are the people who are involved in making these weapons and these reactors. And we are participating in Australia by selling uranium. We just can't do it. And you know, you can say, well, what can I do? I've done lots. Now you've got to do it. I'm only talking to you so you'll do what I've done. I'm no one extraordinary. I was a housewife in 1970 and a rusty GP. I'd never talked in public. I was just scared of nuclear weapons.
So have you moved your base to the States because it appears to be the centre of the nuclear industry, at least in the Western world?
No, actually, we went there in '75 for a sabbatical, Bill and I, and we were both offered permanent jobs at Harvard Medical School. Very good jobs, so we decided to immigrate on those grounds.
How many people are lost in terms of, you know, sort of the cancer and the thing?
Don't know.
And is there still hope at all?
The thing that really scares me silly is total elimination of the human species by nuclear war. That's the thing that really scares me. Yeah, I think there's going to be incredible increase in malignancy from the waste in future generations. It's like the Love Canal thing with the waste seeping up into the houses. That's sort of a microcosm of what I predict the future holds, you know? Our descendants waking up in the morning with big vats of radioactive waste leaking all over the place, the kids already dying of leukemia, the food already contaminated. People might have to get used to only living to 20 years instead of 70. Yeah, it's going to be bad.
And I think sometimes people get...
Turned off.
Well, not turned off. I think they get so turned on and so overwhelmed by the issue that turns them off. I mean, there's just... It's like shell shock. You can take so much, and then the point comes where you just have to... Well, you just can't take any more. I mean, you need to go away and then come back and ask some questions or something.
Somewhere we had some kids and there was hysterical laughter. I spoke at a school, that's right, and I'd say some funny things on in Hawaii, and they'd just break into hysterical laughter, and they'd settle down and I could go on again. So it was a bit of light relief, as if they had to do something.
It was a relief when you started talking a little bit of spiritual stuff and talking about you know, life and about children and the fact that we really all like children and that's our responsibility and that's where we're coming from.
It's not just you guys who are going to get cancer. It's what's going to happen to future generations of kids from cancer. So you should know that the conditions here are going to be really bad, and the masks, I don't know if the guys will wear them, and if they wear them, it won't do them any good. Now, don't forget, when they measure the radiation, it's going to be just measuring the gamma. They don't often measure these alphas. You'll have to have a little measurement thing just up by your nose to measure how much radon gas is going in the mouth. They had little badges here and were measuring the gamma that has nothing to do with the radon that causes lung cancer. So you've got to watch them.
I think the question we raise here now is what we didn't know then, what we
knew then,
we do now.
it was
know now.
known then.
Well, you know, why do they subject the average Joe citizen to it? You see?
Same way as they've subjected.
There you go.
None of those rum jungle workers
Well,
have been
that's
followed
a fact
up.
for sure. That is a fact.
None of them
That
have
is a
they.
definite fact.
None of them what?
The rum jungle miners have been followed up to see.
There's been absolutely no research, to my knowledge, been done on in the case of Batchelor. There's been no research that's been done on the case of Moline. They were the two main mines of the Northern Territory.
Yeah, that whole group of men need to be followed up and compared now with a group who've never been exposed to radiation to see if the incidence of cancer is high. You could bet your bottom dollar it would be. But the fact that it's never been done is absolutely irresponsible of the government. You know, and you could get them on that very fact. On that very fact, and say, how dare you mine uranium? You haven't even followed up the Rung jungle workers or the Marlene ones.
There are going to be unions there. There are going to be miners there.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Let's face it.
Well, let me
And
go on to-
can we qualify it by this point that do they realise the risks and hazard they are taking, and can they be paid enough to know that they're going to die in 2 or 3 years'
And
time?
how much is it worth?
Well, you've got to explain it to the members, don't you?
I reckon it's worth millions of dollars to die in 10 or 15 years of a cancer, and you've got 4 kids? How can that, what sort of compensation can you give a guy for that?
But it's still very hard, isn't it, to tell an employee that he's likely to die in 20 years' time from cancer.
Yeah.
It's very easy to be able to tell an employee, if you put your hand under that guillotine, it's going to cut it off. It's an immediate reaction.
That's right.
And this is the problem that
No,
people
it's
just
not
aren't
so
getting
hard.
over to
The asbestos workers
the
have
workers
got
in
it.
the uranium
That's
and the
right.
asbestos industry.
This man is called Henry Black, and he's a Navajo Indian, and he was a uranium miner. Now they're going to want some Aborigines to mine uranium here. He's dying of lung cancer, and he said the uranium companies never told him he could get cancer. And the Navajo Indians want you to see what's happened to their land. They sent you this slideshow to show you what's happened to their land. They're losing their land. Okay? If you have any questions, you ask me. I'm a doctor, a children's doctor for sick children. So I'm worried about the children. The white children and the black children, the Indian children, the Aboriginal, all the children of the world are going to be affected by this uranium mining. And if you have any messages for the Navajo Indians there, well, tell me. And then I'm going to see them in 3 weeks over there in New Mexico, and I'll tell them what you said. Okay? Because they want to support you and help you. That's why they sent this over. They want to help you to stop this happening to your land. That's why I came.
I think that we're sending a word for them. We're saying here, maybe that place, I think they would have given us a hand, this fight here, because we're seeing this is I can't say it, it's real record.
Record, yeah.
I still say no.
You say no. You say no. You're the mother, that's your baby, right?
No, that's my grandson.
That's your grandson. For your grandson, you say no. Don't you let them mine.
Already mining, because those people, I don't know, they don't understand.
They don't care.
They don't understand. We went meeting last time, nearly 5 meetings we went out there at Navalek.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, my mother and my uncle,
Yeah.
look here, they're going to give you today. The other, another year, you get nothing.
What did your mother and uncle say?
They said, still mining.
They say mine. Your mother and uncle.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
They think they
Why?
get
Might
money.
be they want money.
Do
all the
they?
time. Yeah.
Do most of the people want money, or do most of the people want land?
Most of the people, they want only the money.
Uh-huh.
The Aborigine people.
Yeah, that's what I tell you, but not me.
Dick is concerned.
Not me. My land, I don't want to sell anybody, white or black or anybody. It's my land, forefathers.
Right, forefathers.
Forefathers. It's my. I don't want money. I don't like money.
The accident yesterday at the 3 Mile Island power plant near Harrisburg forced radioactive steam into the air and caused the reactor to shut down.
Because of an accident earlier this week, the station's nuclear core has been overheating, and it was thought that might cause a nuclear meltdown. The reactor is now reported to be stable, but there's still a lot of concern. This report via satellite.
Nuclear Regulatory Commission officials and executives of the Metropolitan Edison Company at first played down the danger.
Yes, the situation is under control, and yes, we know what we're doing, and shortly the plant will be in a more stable condition than it is now.
There has been a state of emergency declared on 3 Mile Island.
Police cars escorted school buses through the streets to bring the children home early. Parents were concerned.
I've known for years that this could happen, and that's why I talk the way I do. But until something does happen, you do look like an idiot. It's like Linus Pauling predicting that kids would get leukemia from the testing, and everyone said, and the government said, that Linus Pauling didn't know what he was talking about. And now they're getting leukemia. So I suppose if you predict things and you damn well know it's going to happen. I didn't know a meltdown or a partial meltdown would happen. I was more worried about the waste and the proliferation. And and people in America always kept saying, well, obviously you're going to have to wait till there is a bad accident for people to wake up. And I always say you can't wait for that. I mean, it's just a disaster. I have to teach people. But you see, until they really see it, they don't understand. Well, some of them do, but not enough understand.
Water cooling the main reactor here is below the boiling point for the 4th day in a row this morning. Meantime, over 600 concerned citizens of the area attended an informational session called by 2 groups against nuclear power. There, Dr. Helen Caldicott, a Boston pediatrician, said she wonders if the 3 Mile Island plant can ever be cleaned and made operational again.
I don't know if the men will ever get in there to do anything with it, because they'd get a lethal dose of radiation. And all the component parts are so radioactive, they'll all have to be replaced. And I predict it's going to be a radioactive mausoleum.
Yeah, that's Rocky Flats. There it is. That factory makes enough bombs to wipe us all off the world. Seated right at the foot of these beautiful mountains. Rocky Flats, in fact, that handles plutonium, and there've been, 200 fires there. And one fire burnt. At the end of 8 days, they were starting to measure it, because they weren't measuring it for 8 days. At the end of 8 days, it was 16,000 times above statutory levels, and that's the first measurement they got. The testicular cancer rate in men living near Rocky Flats is 141% higher than normal. Testicular cancer is very rare. And it means if you've got plutonium in your testicles, it's not only going to give you cancer or it's going to damage the genes in the sperm and so affect either your children or be carried on to future generations. It's not just testicular cancer that's high, incidentally, it's many sort of cancers, because plutonium is handled like iron by the body and happens to be about the most mutagenic and carcinogenic substance that we know, and it's absolutely criminal that there have been fires and that Denver is contaminated with plutonium. And in fact, maybe...
Why aren't the other doctors, the ones that live in this area, as upset about it as you? They know this, they are aware of the effects of this.
I think they're probably not. When I went to speak to at the Pennsylvania Medical Association in Harrisburg last Sunday, the fact is that most of us physicians do not understand the dangers of nuclear power, of the waste, or certainly of plutonium, because it's not in our journals. It's in journals written by health physicists from the Atomic Energy Commission or the NRC, and I've had to do a lot of independent research. I've written a book, I've just written an article for a medical journal about this, trying to teach doctors. We now have a group of doctors called Physicians for Social Responsibility. We're going out giving grand rounds in Yale, Harvard, all over, teaching the medical profession about the dangers of nuclear power and weapons.
It's really nice being back in the Denver area. I always knew Denver was a hot town, but it took EPA and their Geiger counters to find out just how hot it was.
And then when you finish, introduce how you want to say whatever you want. Caldecott.
Caldecott.
Yeah.
I'll say Caldecott.
Right.
Yeah. It's really been rough since he's passed away.
It's people like you that are the strength, you know.
I try to be. I'm not very good, though. I get up there and I know what I want to say, and then when I get up there, I forget everything.
Well, you've got your notes. You won't forget it. Just feel right down here what you're feeling about and talk from there. It'll come out then. Talk about how it felt to lose your husband and how much you loved him, what it meant. That's the thing that gets the people.
Yeah, right.
Talk about how you feel about the government and what they've done to your life and to your husband that you loved. That's what they'll hear. And you can easily say that because that's what you feel.
Right.
Remember that every time you speak. Speak from your guts.
Yeah.
From your heart.
I just hope I can talk loud enough. Like Pam said, my husband was a security guard at the test site. He was at the Bainbury venting. At that time, they knew nothing, no plans or anything when they had a venting. And he had to evacuate 900 people out of this camp, which he did. Then also after that, he was sent down to a roadblock where he was left 9 hours. They forgot him. There was so much excitement that they didn't know what they were doing. He contacted leukemia and died April the 17th, 1974. And now I have been in court for 42 days fighting the government for this. And I will know in my own mind that the government killed my husband. And I just pray and hope that the people here in Rocky Flats don't have to pay the price that I have paid. Thank you.
Dorothy Robert lost her husband and he died with hemorrhage. He bled and he bled and he bled. And this is what this place is about. It's about death. The people who live down there in those houses are dying of cancer. They're dying of cancer caused by that plant. There is plutonium in that reservoir down there. And people at Broomfield are drinking water from the reservoir. And plutonium is the most dangerous element on Earth, and it shouldn't ever leak. Never. What are we doing? We're killing ourselves to make the bombs to kill ourselves better. That's what we're doing.
These clouds hanging over the mountain, pressure is thick in the skies, building up for a storm. These drops seem to be born in my eyes. New Mexico morning, you shine like a jewel in the sun. I'd like to lie down in sweet music. I need.
See, I was in Rocky Flats yesterday. I am very tired.
Did you give her that paper?
To see someone from Australia.
Are you from Australia?
18 months.
Were you really?
Yesterday.
Great.
Port Moresby.
Yes, Port Moresby.
Yeah. All around that place. I can't remember the places now.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, World War II.
The reason why I've come here today is that 2 weeks ago I was in Australia. That's where I come from. And the Indians of Australia are the Aborigines. And they've lived there for millions of years. And it happens that the government has just passed a law saying the Aborigines own their sacred tribal land. It's their land. And just after they passed that law, the government found uranium on the land. So then the government passed another law and they said, however, you own the land, but if we find uranium on it, we're allowed to take the uranium. You made a slideshow for me, and I took those slideshows to show to the Aborigines. And there was a man called Dick, who is the tribal leader. He owns the land, Dick. And Dick came out of the meeting and he said, when I saw those pictures, he said, it hurts my heart in here to see those pictures. I don't know what we can do, folks, but we've got to stop it. You see, what is it? We're about to destroy the most beautiful people in the world. The Indians and the Aborigines. And they know what the world's about because they worship the earth. They know that people belong to this earth, that we are part of it. And we must obey the natural laws. We mustn't destroy the earth. How do we get the people in Washington to listen? How do we get them to wake up so they want to survive?
2, 4, 6, 6, we don't want to radiate. 2, 4, 6, 6, we don't want to radiate. 2, 4, 6, 6, we don't want to radiate.
My daughter, everyone. This is Ted Rice. Hi. John Goffman. Hi. David Brower. Hi. Steve Hilgott, and she's called Penny.
We're here today, over 100,000 strong, in a common quest. Whether you view yourself particularly as parents, consumers, taxpayers, you all view yourself in the common quest for humanity, for life on the land, for a non-radioactive America.
I wanted to say a few words about the China Syndrome, my movie, The China Syndrome, because the fact that the opening of the movie was followed so quickly afterwards with the disaster at 3 Mile Island has led a lot of people and the press to say that this is an example of fiction anticipating reality. The exact opposite is true. The fiction has been the nuclear industry's decades of assurances that nuclear power is safe and necessary.
First, we're targeting places where there are reactors, where there are waste facilities and weapons, and ask the doctors what information they want, and asking the patients what information they want from their doctors. Coordinate that, send them out staff, teach them how to talk, and teach the local doctors to educate their own communities.
The Washington Post reported yesterday that the wastes from 3 Mile Island are now being trucked across the whole country to Richland, Washington by way of Route 180. For more information, contact the Highway Department of your state.
No, you call that for me because I'm speaking to someone.
What happened in Harrisburg? What would have happened if that had have melted down, and by the grace of God, it did not melt? It was nothing to do with men that it did not melt by the grace of God. 3,000 people would have died immediately. 10 to 100,000 people right now would be going bald. They would be getting ulcers on their skin, severe vomiting and diarrhea, and as their blood cells died, they would be dying of massive hemorrhage or infection. Thousands of men would be rendered sterile. Thousands of women would stop menstruating permanently. Thousands of babies would be born with microcephaly, small heads, because the radiation attacks the developing brain. Thousands more babies would be born as cretins, mentally retarded for life. There would be an epidemic of leukemia 5 years later, and hundreds of thousands of cases of cancer appearing 15 to 50 years later. It would have killed approximately 500,000 Americans. Did any of you hear the government officials on national television tell you those facts? Why not? We now hold the whole of life in the palm of our hand. We are at the crossroads of time. We are the curators of every organism on Earth because of our brilliance. But we can turn our brilliance towards life, love, creativity, and we will save the world. And this is the embryo movement. This is this size. In 2 years' time, it will be millions of Americans.
Nuclear power, I see, is just a pimple on the pumpkin now. It's just the tip of the iceberg. The armaments industry is vast. It uses up more than half the federal tax dollars we pay. More than half the scientists in this country are involved in it, and the weapons are just so hideous now I just can't describe them. Laser beams to wipe out satellites, laser beams to shoot down Russian missiles as they take off within microseconds, computers which will launch all the weapons in this country within 3 minutes. Just incredible. And the more you talk about it, the more horrible it becomes, because the world is hooked on nuclear weapons like a drug, like morphia. And America makes 3 to 10 new hydrogen bombs every day. And now America can blow Russia up 40 times, and Russia can blow America up 20 times. And they can blow every person in the world 12 times. As a physician and a biologist, I've studied how beautiful life is, how intricate the mechanisms are with a single cell, let alone the whole of nature, which I have a tremendous reverence for. We may be the only life in the whole universe, you know. And that's my religion. I worship that. And I just cannot tolerate, I can't tolerate the fact that we might destroy it all. It's just beyond my imagination. I think what I'll do is just talk a little about the Japan experience. I, like all of you, have read the effects of the A-bombs and how much leukemia developed and how cancer's still developing and how first acute radiation illness was described there, never seen before, but I'd never been there. And the bomb was dropped on August the 6th, 1945. We marched to the Peace Park that morning, very early, thousands and thousands of Japanese people dressed in black. It's a profoundly religious experience for them, and many of them are still survivors of the bomb. They're hibakusha. Some physicians write in the literature that when they shave in the morning, they're frightened every morning because when they cut themselves, they're never sure if they'll stop bleeding. And if they don't stop bleeding, that's an indication they've got leukemia. So they live with this fear. People won't marry them because genetically they may be impaired. They're always frightened of developing A-bomb disease, which is malignancy. They walk around all the time saying, no more ANH bombs. And that's their slogan, no more A and H bombs, no more Hibakusha. And it's absolutely talking in the wind, because what good has it done? Nuclear war takes about 1 or 2 hours to totally complete. So you get into a shelter. So you can't come out for 2 weeks. Short-lived isotopes are so radioactive you'd die. You come out in 2 weeks, there aren't any doctors, or very few, hospital beds or drugs, because we're all targeted. There'd probably be no food. There'd be contaminated water. Your friends and relatives probably wouldn't be alive. How you'd be shocked and numbed or psychotic with grief. How the civil defense program in this country says the first thing you do after a nuclear war is quickly bury the millions of dead, decaying bodies as viruses and bacteria multiply in a radioactive environment to become more virulent and our immune mechanism is depleted, and how we have to have large stocks of opium and morphia to inject into the dying patients. What are we doing? We have participated in this because we've paid our taxes. They're our bombs. They're our bombs. It's our Pentagon. We employ the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's our Department of Energy who make all the weapons. They don't just run nuclear power. They make all the weapons, the Department of Energy. They're ours. And now we're at a point where if we don't stop it, and we don't get rid of the weapons, I think almost certainly they'll be used. So I see that education is the key, and sensitization and consciousness raising, not numbing people. I don't know if you're all numbed or how you're feeling. It's pretty bad. But we've got to do something. And doing something is constructive and it's therapeutic. And there's no other way, no other thing to do, knowing what we know. It is the only course to try and stop it.
On the basis of what you've said, I have absolutely no rational grounds for hope in the context of what's going on in the world. What are your grounds for hope, and to what extent are they rational?
Well, I'm probably totally irrational and driven by neuroses from a childhood. But I am damned if I'm going to let those bastards kill us all. That's how I feel. I just can't accept it. I just won't accept it. And I'm just determined to and I'm a mother. I've got 3 kids. And I feel as part of being a mother and a father to make the world safe for our children. And if they've set it up like this, there's no reason why we can't destroy it and undo it, is there? I'm sure to motivate the power for good, and God's on our side, surely, that we can do it. That must be more powerful than the power of evil. You need to put your address and your name of your group on the back of that envelope.
Where is it?
It's been taken around there by Jenny. So can you go and do that?
My name and
Thanks,
address?
yeah. So we can write down. Do you need a woman?
I want a woman. We want a woman.
Okay.
Because we're a women's organization.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
And
I'm suggesting we form a women's party for survival, that we get all the women in this country, all of them, young, old, every single woman.
I'm 78, but I'm your first.
That's right.
I'm Vin Howard. My son, Peter, has cystic fibrosis, and
Oh,
you
really?
took care of him
Yeah.
while he was in the hospital. Do you remember?
Well, that's one of the main reasons I do it, of course. I
I
just,
can understand that.
it's so frustrating working with that disease, and
Well, I
I'm damned if
understand.
I'm going to see it increase in incidence.
I know.
Oh, I've got to find- This is the most important issue ever to face the human race. And I believe that we can stop it. But you can't say, oh, she'll do it, or why isn't Jimmy Carter doing it, or what's Brezhnev doing? You must take the world on your shoulders like Atlas and make a total commitment. You inherited the earth. It is your birthright, and they are your children.
At the tone, 23 hours, 52 minutes, coordinated universal time. code 0 hours, 0 minutes, coordinated universal time.